Hello, everyone, and welcome to my YouTube channel. Welcome to KK's Quilt Studio. I'm Marilyn, and if you're new to my site, you'll find that I love software. I love all kinds of software that has anything to do with quilting, sewing, and embroidery. And that's what my YouTube channel is all about. And today we're going to talk about another piece of software. So there'll be a new playlist for Hatch Embroidery. I have owned Hatch Embroidery for several years and had an opportunity to learn it fairly well. And I'm going to talk about Hatch Embroidery 3 today. It is somewhat similar to the Bernina V9 software. The full on, not the creator level. So you need the full piece. You'll see that the layout, if you're a Bernina owner, you'll see that the layout is very different. But functionality is the same. So hopefully you can follow along and perhaps find those tools in your Bernina software that you could also do this wonderful little trick we're going to do today with extracting designs out of a PDF. And what is a PDF? Well, PDF is an electronic file, something you might have when you purchase a pattern online and you get a instant download, and perhaps that pattern comes with applique pieces or even unusual quilt block units that you might need a template to cut. So sometimes you have to print those out in your printer and draw them out by hand or make your own templates. And I'm going to show you today about what we're going to talk about is working with applique and how to turn that template that you get with the PDF files into an embroidery design. Perhaps you get your magazines like I do now. You get them electronically delivered to your inbox, and it's the same thing. If you have quilt block piece templates or applique, that's what we're going to be doing today. You need to extract them from the file, but since we're working in an embroidery program, a machine embroidery program, that's what we're mainly working on. We're going to turn this into a stitchable embroidery design. And if you're lucky enough to have one of those cutting machines, I'm going to show you even how to extract your cutting files for the machine. So let's get busy. So we're going to work with this little monkey face today. I'm going to show you how to go about it. And let's go over to a blank workspace page. Okay. And up here, upper left-hand corner, we are going to go to, there is a Corel version, a version of Corel that comes with Hatch Embroidery, so it works together. And we're going to click on that little pencil and take us over to the graphics. Now, if you've ever worked with Corel, if you are lucky enough to own the software, it looks just like a regular version of Corel. Has some more limited tools than you would get with the full suite of Corel tools, but basics are the same. So what we are going to do is go up here and see that little down arrow button. We are going to import our PDF file. So this is an old file that I got from the Moda bake shop number of years ago. And if I pull this down here, you see that we get a preview of the pattern, and it has 13 pages in it. So if we just scroll down, see a picture of the quilt, the pieces, the how to put this together, and yes, I will be kind enough to give you a link the description of the video below. But what we're going to be working with is this page here, this little monkey face that comes in it. And you'll see that this is on page 5 of the 13 pages. So that's important, number 5. So we're going to click to import. And when we go here, we're going to change that to just page 5. We don't need any of the other pages. So type in 5, and then we're going to click OK. And I don't know why, doesn't normally happen, but somehow that popped up. Usually you get this little dialogue here that's sticking to my mouse. I'm going to add another page. This is usually what you get, is a blank page. Click on it and it drops your information, your page objects right there. So if I go back to this one, I'm looking down below. I've got the little tabs, the very bottom of the screen. You see that first page is blank. So I'm just going to go in there and delete that page. Sometimes this has some little peculiarities with it. I have found that. But for the most part, like I said, you should just get a blank document page, and that little thing that's attached, the little text that's attached, and you'll just left click to drop your objects onto the page. Okay. Now that we've got this, you see that when I click on this, everything's grouped together. So this, when I click on it, it selects all of them. I got the little dots here around everything. So I need to ungroup this page. So I'm going to go up here again to the toolbar, and this little box, this is group, this is ungroup. So I'm going to click that ungroup, and you'll see over here on my objects list that now I have a list of all the items that are over here in the workspace. So I don't need this text, so I'm going to left click and drag a dotted selection box around that, and I'm going to cut that. I'm going to click on that text, hold down my shift key and click that text. You can see it is selected over here on my object screen as well. I'm going to delete those. And I'm going to go down here. This is just a picture for the layout. I don't need that little monkey and all that. So we'll cut that. Whoops, I missed his leg. Okay, we'll cut that. Get rid of that. And this is the face, and I am going to digitize it. So I dragged a selection box, and you can see all the different items that are included when I drag that. And I'm going to move up the page here so I get this kind of positioned how I'd like it. I think that looks good. Okay, I think we're good. So I can Control A or go up here and select all objects. Yes, that's what I want to do. So you'll see that I have everything selected here. Okay, and I am going to convert, and you'll see now that sent me back to the embroidery side of the house. Oh, and there, that little leg again. I thought we got rid of him. Okay, so let me go to True View. I'm going to select that leg. Have to click off. I don't need him, so we will cut him as well and cut the artwork. We don't need that. Okay, so now we have the little monkey and his face. And I need to go in here. It didn't exactly arrange everything. If you think about layers, a stack of paper or what have you, we need to get everything in the correct layer, if you will. So all the gray items here, this is artwork, okay? All the gray backgrounds, and then our embroidery, our eyes and that are on top of the list, but they're actually at the bottom. So once we start assigning applique, we're going to lose that. So I want to go in here and get all that embroidery face. So I'm going to go down here, hold down the shift key, select all those, and I am going to send them to the bottom of the pile for now. Okay. And first, I'm going to work with the ears. So the ears need to be at the top. Okay, and that means that they are at the bottom of the pile. I want them to sew out first, and then I want the head and then the face. So I think we have everything in order. Yeah. Okay, so that looks good. So we will take one object at a time. So I'm going to take this first ear, and I am going to over here and choose my applique. Now Bernina has their stitch buttons down here along the bottom. So know that is different with the Bernina V9 software. Okay, so we're going to digitize, we're going to turn that into embroidery. And there was a glitch in the artwork. Now I could have fixed that in Corel, and I probably should have, but we will fix it here in Hatch. We can do both. So my preference would be to fix it in Corel. It's always good to start with good artwork and make any changes. That's the reason that we have Corel with the embroidery software. So the first thing I see is that this assigned satin stitches, and I actually want a blanket stitch to go with this. So if we think about an applique is comprised of a placement stitch, and then you put on your fabric and you tack it down, and then it does the final satin stitch. So over here under our object properties, you'll see that we have tack down, cover, and offsets. So, okay, first thing I'm going to change, if I were to turn off the true view, and let's zoom in on this ear, and I have the stitches and needle points on here. I don't need that. Okay. If you can, if we change that color, if it wasn't black, you can see the stitching under here. I'm not gonna like that. Let's change the cover stitch to a blanket first, and then you can see what that, I have to select it. Okay, and let's change it to a blanket stitch. Okay, so now you can see there are, well, and that changed the tack down to a single run, so that's good. I don't have to change that zigzag that you would have for a satin stitch. And if I click on the little applique fabric, now there are default factory fabrics that come with us. For this example, I'm just going to use colors. So we're going to say I have brown fabric, okay, for the ears. So you can choose your color here from these color chips, or you can go to this sort of color hexagon, or you can go to hues and shades here in custom colors. Brown is brown. I'm good. Nothing fancy with this. So there. that gives me my ear. But you'll see that my blanket stitch doesn't meet my fabric. It's sticking out over the edge, and that's not a good look for me. So I am going to go to the offset, and if while I'm clicking on this, you'll see my fabric get closer and closer. So I'm increasing, increasing, and there. Now I have that matches up with my edge of my blanket stitch. That looks good to me. So I am going to also make a change here. I don't actually need that tack down because if you use fusible, you don't need that. Um, if you if you want a tack down, you could use a matching thread and then a contrast thread on your blanket stitch, or you can just change it to none, and then you don't have a blanket stitch at all. So that's how I I get my first piece of applique. However, I maybe don't want this fabric to go underneath of the head. So if I turn on the head here and apply applique to him, do the same thing, and then give him a fabric color, you see that I have an overhang. Um, and sometimes if this is a lighter color, let's see, that didn't apply. Okay, try that one more time. Color, brown, and apply. Okay, if this were going to be a lighter color, the head, and I would have a shadow underneath of that face. So for right now, since we have the face selected, let's right click and hide that selected item. Now we can still see the outline. That's that artwork behind it. Okay, so I'm going to go in here and do some surgery on this ear. So let's go back up here to this ear, and I am going to go to edit. And while I have this ear selected, I'm actually going to break apart that design. So I want the placement stitch to stay because I need to know where that is. And while I have that, here is, before I forget to tell you, I go to File and Export Cutting. That is where we would save an SVG or an FCM file to save for your cutting machine. So if you have a Cricut or a Brother Scan and Cut, that's where you would export the cutting file for this ear. Okay, before I forget to tell you that. Okay, when we split apart that design and where we hit break apart, it just created a blank box. So I don't see anything there. I don't need that. So I want to go into this blanket stitch, and I want to nip off what is under the face area here. So I am going to break apart again and click on this. We're going to cut. Oops, nope, that's not what I wanted to do. I want to get the select. Okay, and now break apart, and we want to go to knife. Okay, so I am going to go in here and cut and over here and cut that line. Okay, and then hit enter on your keyboard, and you'll see that that broke that ear into two pieces. This is the part on the inside that I no longer want, so we'll cut that. Okay, again, this is my artwork, so don't worry about that brown or that black line. And we actually cut that little piece away, so we didn't even need to fix that. So I'll go in here and get rid of that piece of artwork. Okay, so now all I see is my tack down. Okay, and if I wanted to cut my fabric, I could probably even go in here and apply another stitch and merge those together, but I could just nip off that extra piece of fabric. Okay, and let's go back down here. So if I zoom out, you'll see I would do that also, do the same thing with this here. So I'd apply the applique stitches and go from there. So my big head is not that complicated. I'm going to go down, and you see the lines here. That means I have that head hidden. So let's unhide selected. Okay. And we need to bring up the placement line. Turn on the true view. Okay. My interface. Okay. We'll apply applique to it also. All right, and I don't want brown. This time I want a lighter shade, kind of a flesh color for his face. Okay, so there we go. So you would keep coloring it as it is. Now, up here, I'm going to zoom into this, go get our zoom tool and zoom into this part of the design. You'll see we've got some wacky things going on here. So let's select this and let's turn off our tack down stitch. We don't need that purple run, and we'll up our offset a bit. There we go. That's looking pretty good. So that pink line you can just barely see is our placement line. I probably could go up just a little bit more on that. That seems to be outside. We'll keep it there. Okay, but these wacky stitches here, sometimes that happens, particularly when you have corners like this where they come in. It's sort of a, what do you call that? I don't know what you call that. It's a concave turn. So this where you have the inner turn, you might get these long stitches. How do you fix that? Okay. First, we're going to go out of True View, and then I'm going to go to Show, and I want to show needle points. So now I've got needle points, these little white dots where my needle is going to go in at each stitch. Okay. I want to edit those, and I want to go down here to stitch edit to see where I am. Okay. So when I do that, they all turn white again. And I'm going to drag that in. I know it doesn't look like anything's happening, but when I click off of it, there, that stitch, drop it where I want it. Okay. And this one, I'm left click and holding gonna drop that kind of in there. This one I'm gonna bring in just a tad, and this one, left click, hold, and drag up, and then click off. That one I probably went in just a little bit too much, but play around with them, get them where they're looking just a little bit better. Okay. And I even could move this one over a bit. Now remember, I got 2 stitches there because it's kind of like a zigzag. It goes in, in, in. So I have 2 stitches. You may even need to zoom in a little bit closer there. Okay, that fixes that a little bit better. Could even fiddle around here and play with these stitches. And again, and you can select more than one if you hold down the control key and drag those over. Okay. Let's see how that looks. Yeah, come a little bit more. Okay. And that's separated. Let me click on something else so you can see that separated the stitches. So let's go over, bring those back together. You can fiddle with it and fix it how best you like to, how it looks good to you. Okay, so let's back out. So that is our design, and you would, of course, do what I said with the exporting your cutting files for the face, the outer head, and the 2 ears. And that is how you get an embroidery design and put it on, that quilt top or whatever. So I hope that you've enjoyed this video. And if you have more questions about hatch embroidery, if you have it, I'd love to hear from you and tell me what you think, what you would like to learn. If you have any other questions about techniques you'd like to learn, if you want to learn more about hatch embroidery, we can do a class. But I'm just putting this out there to answer a question of a fellow stitcher and quilter, and hopefully help somebody who has Hatch and has wondered, how do I use that Corel integration in the Hatch software? So I hope you enjoyed this video. Happy quilting, and I want you to go out there and create something beautiful today. Thanks for joining me.